Finally, we continue to support the hardworking men and women out there today in this heat, doing everything that they can to find the individuals responsible for this very tragic incident. Thank you.
Well, that does not clear up one of the key factors here. CNN reporting about an hour ago, maybe 45 minutes ago, that they apparently had gotten one of the three suspects, but that was not confirmed here. And even some of the news releases from the varying police departments, police agencies mentioned that they were looking for two. So we don't know if they backtracked out of disguise to perhaps fool the two that are still out there, or if they did not, in fact, get the right man. However, they're looking for two white men, one black man, and that's as far as that description goes, which is obviously not very detailed and sometimes very troubling to people when they hear something that general. However, in this situation, I think that could be all part of the again, the disguise. Or something the disguise to make sure they get the right people.
They could be in a home or something watching the television, so they don't want to give too much information away. We should tell you folks, too, if anyone's at home or knows people with children, the schools are still in a soft lockdown, but they're asking parents to now pick up their children at 4 o'clock, which is right now, as opposed to the regular 3 o'clock dismissal. They say that they need to assure that the residents are safe. And also, you heard Mayor Schmidt talk a little bit about G.I. Joe, as he is had fondly been called. Lieutenant Joe Glenowitz, the 32-year veteran who was killed this morning. He said he was a friend, he was a decorated officer, a 32-year veteran of the Fox Lake Police Department. You're looking at pictures of him right now, as you said, they are from his Facebook page. 4 children, has a wife.
4 boys.
4 boys. We understand that his wife, as you would expect, is inconsolable right now as to what happened. And just to reiterate, he was going to retire about a month ago, but the chief of police asked him to stay on. Obviously a very dedicated police officer since he has been with the department for so long. So that right now, they say they have lost a family member of Fox Lake, of the Fox Lake community. So this is very difficult for those folks there dealing with this manhunt right now.
If you're just tuning in, this is the WGN Evening News beginning at 4 o'clock. We started early with this breaking news as authorities came to the microphones for the first time at about 3:55 to talk about what they've got. They weren't necessarily very forthcoming with a lot of information, understandably, as they searched for 2, maybe 3 suspects. It's been 3 all day. Then it was honed down back to 2 suspects, maybe 1 being caught. That's not been confirmed by anybody but CNN through the Illinois State Police. The State Police will not confirm that for local news operations as of right now, so we're not exactly sure what the situation is there. But the death of that man right there, Lieutenant Joe Glenowitz, a 32-year-old veteran of the Fox Lake Police Department, who's, as Mike has said, should have been retired last month, but asked to stay on, G.I. Joe, as he's called. He was gunned down about 8 this morning in a foot chase with 3 suspects. He thought something was wrong. He radioed in saying that he was going to do some sort of reconnaissance on this. He got out of his car, apparently, was running after them. One of them turned, fired a gun, killed him. At first, Lieutenant Glenowitz was hurt, and then a second backup officer found him, and he did not survive.
And it's still a little unclear as to how he found them. Some say the 3 suspects were walking on the side of the road. He thought things were a little suspicious, so he stopped them. Others say it could have been a car that he stopped, whether they were on foot or not. And we also understand from reports that the officer's gun, is in their possession, possibly a taser.
Maybe even the radio, too.
And maybe even the radio. Let's go right now to a gentleman who lives in the subdivision there in Fox Lake. Ron Schlescher, are you on the phone with us now, sir?
Yes, I am.
What can you tell us the situation is like where you live right now?
Well, the neighborhood is pretty much on lockdown right now. Actually, I have probably 4 fully camouflaged police officers, special forces agents in my backyard right now. 2 of them are under my deck.
Now, why are they so focused in that area? Have they told you? Have they been able to talk to you at all, or have you made contact with them?
Talked to them several times. I believe they're trying to cordon off the area and make sure they're trying to squeeze these guys into this wetland area behind our house and give them very few exits.
Ron, do we have it correct on the screen there? Is it Fox Ridge? Is that the subdivision?
Yeah, Fox Ridge subdivision.
And you say that the tactical officers, how many would you say are in the backyard there under your deck?
Well, I can see 5 from my windows. I saw a bunch earlier while I took the dogs out real quick. I've only been able to walk the dogs once today, the poor guys.
Ron, they're telling you obviously to stay inside the house, and are you afraid at all?
No, actually, I'm feeling as safe as I possibly could. I got armed policemen outside my back door.
Understandable, yeah. Did they give you a time frame as to how long you're supposed to stay?
Until further notice.
Yeah. Understandable. Okay, and so you've got some wetlands behind you. Is that the situation? If you painted the visual picture for us, your backyard looks out at what?
My backyard looks out at the main wetland area. There's an island in the middle of it. If you get some overhead shots, that island is probably 150 feet from my deck.
Okay, this is video that you actually shot. We're looking at, Ron, from your, I'm assuming, your smartphone or your iPad or something.
Yeah.
And that's the choppers overhead. And this was how long ago?
This is probably 2.5 hours ago. The choppers have been a little quieter. They've been going out a little further. And then just a little while ago, they came in real close. And I noticed for the first time that there were 4 officers per side of the helicopter.
Ron, in the chat, the scuttlebutt, whatever, and maybe you haven't been able to get much information, understandably, but there was some talk about an hour ago that maybe one of the suspects was caught at a news conference, as you probably heard about 10 minutes ago. They didn't necessarily offer that information up, saying they were still looking for 3 people. Had you heard any word about them catching anybody?
A little bit on social media. We have a subdivision webpage, and they actually posted pictures up of a guy they thought was a suspect, and then a little bit later they just posted pictures of him in custody.
How close is your subdivision to the area where they think that the incident happened initially?
It's probably if you're standing on my deck, it's about 300 yards west from my location.
And what do you know, based on, even if it's unconfirmed, social media, and I think our viewers understand that this is all fluid, what started all this? I understand the details of what happened with the officer and suspicions about the 3 men, but what did you hear that might have begun this whole thing?
I heard nothing of the beginning of it, just that they were on a manhunt. When I walked out of the garage this morning, there were police in my cul-de-sac, and actually one of my neighbors left their garage door open while they were walking their dogs, and 4 police officers were walking out of their house in full riot gear with shields and everything. They had to go check the house before they'd let her back in.
Hey, Ron, the wetlands, go back to that for just a moment. Is it murky deep, or is it just literally like a wet field type thing with the island?
It's actually kind of dry this year. Okay. It does get real boggy and murky when we have a lot of rain, but at this time right now, it's pretty dry down there.
And Ron, I'm assuming it's a little after 4 o'clock. In a couple of hours, few hours, it's going to get dark. Probably just black out there when it gets dark, right? No light?
It does get very dark behind our area. The front of the neighborhood's okay, but in the rear of the neighborhood out in this wetland, it is dark.
Yeah, and a lot of concentration out there with police presence. Ron, thank you so much for talking to us. We do have reporters on the scene, of course. Let's go now to Julie Enru. She is actually in Antioch right now. Julie, what can you tell us?
You know, there has been so much activity in Fox Lake, and obviously so many people in the area concerned with what is still developing in that area. But we are over in Antioch, and this is where the man who was involved in this shooting is actually from. The man whose life was lost today in the pursuit of 3 suspects. And this is a gentleman who was just 3 weeks away from retiring. We're talking about Lieutenant Charles Joseph Glinowitz, known to so many here, even the residents, as G.I. Joe, a much beloved man from what I hear out on the street. Fox Lake, he's been with the Fox Lake PD for more than 30 years, and he was a decorated officer. Lieutenant Joe Glinowitz lived in Antioch, as I mentioned, and was married, had 4 sons, and even attended Antioch High School. He sounds like a local boy. He was an Army vet and worked with youths in the area, those youths who were debating whether they actually wanted to join the police force here, and he tried to help them through that. It sounds like he was truly a fixture over the years in both Fox Lake and here in Antioch. The phrases I keep hearing on the streets, people say, everybody knew him, everybody liked him. And as you can imagine, emotions are still quite raw around here. We've learned that the lieutenant's wife was inconsolable this afternoon, so many of the locals distraught over the manhunt manhunt, of course, are also grieving the death of Lieutenant Glenowitz. One woman I spoke with was so choked up when we spoke. Others not happy to see all of this activity in an otherwise quiet, tranquil lake community. Now, balloons outside of the Fox Lake Police Department remember the fallen officer who we understand was supposed to retire last month. The chief who stepped down asked him to stay simply one more month. A real heartbreak for all those who knew the lieutenant so well. And as we just heard in a press conference that wrapped up not too long ago, I believe it was the mayor who said that he was not only a decorated officer, but this is such a difficult day for the police department in Fox Lake, of course, because this was the loss of a family member for them. We find ourselves in Antioch for another reason, which is to say that we understand his brother is a member here of the Antioch Fire Department. Remember, these units so close, even though they're in different jurisdictions, and their jobs at hand are certainly different. The mayor calling this a senseless tragedy. And also mentioning, too, that the commitment to the community that G.I. Joe had was truly unmatched. That's all we have for right now. We're hoping to learn more about the man involved in all of this. We're live in Antioch. Julie Unruh, WGN News.
Okay, Julie, thank you. WGN's Sarah Jindra, live in Skycam 9. Now, let me lay the scene out here. This is Crystal Lake. That's not very close to Fox Lake, but there's obviously police activity right there. There's been a report in the suburban newspaper there that mysuburbanlife.com that this is unrelated to the Fox Lake shooting. However, let's lay it out that way and have Sarah Jindra fill in some of the blanks here. Sarah.
Yeah, this is about 20 miles southwest here of the Fox Lake area. But again, hearing at this time, it's unrelated to what's happening in Fox Lake. But a lot of what that caller was just describing with the men in camouflage kind of going up to the house, surrounding houses, that's what we're seeing here. And we don't want to zoom out too far to give away any positions. But I can tell you, up in trees, there are people everywhere here. Police cars everywhere as well, surrounding a home in this area. So again, this is in the Crystal Lake area near Golf Course Road and Miller, right near the Indian Prairie Park. So a big spot to avoid. We're being told by Crystal Lake that Crystal Lake Elementary District number 47 students will not be released during this investigation. Again, no information what this investigation is, though. All we know is that there were reports that there was an armed person in the area. So schools here are on that lockdown as well. A lot of what we're hearing in Fox Lake, we're hearing the same situations here in Crystal Lake as far as these investigations and officers on the ground. But again, no confirmation at this point that this is related, but of course we'll keep an eye on everything and keep you posted and updated as we get more, guys.
All right, Sarah, thanks. And just to reiterate, we don't know if this is related at all to the incident in Fox Lake.
MySuburbanLife.com says, I'll just read it to you, just to make sure we have it all clear. Crystal Lake police are at Golf Course and Village Roads, like Sarah just said. The report here says it's unrelated to the shooting in Fox Lake. A dispute where one person had a gun, according to scanner reports, and again, scanner stuff is unconfirmed. But so this report says it's unrelated.
Okay.
But it looks awfully similar in terms of the kind of operation we're talking about here.
But my question is, too, these suspects could have gotten to a certain point. They may not be in the Fox Lake area. They may have gotten a car or hijacked a car or carjacked, a vehicle or something. So we don't know where they are. But because there's a lot of police presence, we have to, report that. Let's go to WGN Julian Cruz, who was the first reporter on the scene today involving this shooting in Fox Lake. Hi, Julian.
Hello, Micah. It has certainly been an extraordinary manhunt, unprecedented in recent memory. I can't recall ever seeing so much police resources in one area. Now, let me show you a hot point right here. We're at Route 12, in between Route 132 and Route 134. We're east of Route 12. Now, much of the search has been focused in an industrial area that contains some swampy and heavily wooded areas, and obviously areas that it would be very easy for somebody to hide, and that has been one of the reasons why we have seen so many large armored vehicles going in, police armored vehicles with police in this extreme heat wearing body armor and going in behind these vehicles to protect themselves. So it has just been an unbelievable situation. Of course, we know that the FBI is assisting, and as you heard Sarah Jindra, with officers in trees, officers at bridges. I can vouch for that here in the Fox Lake area. We have just seen an extraordinary amount of police resources here. Police squad cars from as far away as Joliet and Chicago, all of them here to assist in this massive manhunt. Now, one thing that has to be pointed out, this incident happening about 8 o'clock this morning, and it wasn't until, if I'm correct, it was around 11:20 or 11:15 this morning when the media first were able to communicate with police. It has been a bit of a confusing situation, quite honestly. Part of that could be when you're looking at so many different police jurisdictions in one area, the communications becomes very difficult. But, you know, a span, Mark and Mike, of, you know, about 3.5, maybe 4 hours between the time of the incident and when we received the first pieces of information about who they were looking for and what had happened. So who's to know if that delay cost at all? Obviously, we're able to get on the air and let people know that something is going on, but police, you know, with their hands full, having to deal with this situation. Of course, the last thing on your mind is communicating with the media, but it certainly has been somewhat of a confusing situation here, trying to understand exactly what's been happening.
Yes, Julian, confusing indeed. Now, at 4 o'clock, there was the press conference. It was just a statement, no Q&A at all. But they did not confirm or anything whether or not a suspect had been captured. That's what CNN was reporting a little while ago. Have you heard rumor of that at all where you've been?
Yeah, there have been a number of reports that have been flying around that police had promising leads, that they had made an arrest, but getting official information from the Fox Lake Police Department or from the Lake County Sheriff's Department, and they have been leading this investigation, has been very, very difficult. You have to look at what they're dealing with, all of the situations, a very dangerous situation back here, and you know, the lockdown of the schools. It has just been an extraordinary situation. Of course, the Milwaukee North District shut down, them wanting to cut off any possible escape routes, or the suspects perhaps using the train tracks to try to get out of the area. Mark and Micah?
All right, Julian, thanks. We've got Anna Young, who lives in the area, on the phone. Apparently just picked your kids up from school. Anna, do we have you there?
Yes, sir, you do.
Anna, you don't need to necessarily tell us what school, but can you just kind of describe how the day has unfolded for you? I understand in some schools they've been keeping students later on purpose.
That is correct, sir. I've actually been across the street the majority of the day from where all of the law enforcement have placed themselves, and it has been scary, not knowing, you know, how your kids are doing and if they're, you know, being fed. Our school doesn't happen to have air conditioning, so another thing to have to worry about. Picking up our kids, they did a great job. There were three sheriff's department vehicles and officers outside of the school checking IDs as you pick up your child. One by one, they were letting a car come in to the parking lot. They looked up your name. You were able to get your child, and then you would exit, and then the next person would come in.
Wow.
So, Anna, it's safe to say that you feel very safe right now, protected.
Oh, I have never seen so many police authorities in my life.
Yeah, I can well imagine. When did you first hear about the situation? Because obviously you probably took your kids to school, unless they take the bus, took your kids to school this morning. Describe the first that you heard about this and what you've been doing all day.
Well, actually, I was driving down Rollins Road, which is around 8:20 this morning
That was right
to drop
in your
my
area.
child off at school, and there were already police officers and SWAT teams standing out of their vehicles on Rollins Road with their, you know, automatic weapons strapped around them.
So you got early warning.
I got a very early warning, and of course I did, you know, take to Facebook right away, and it was, you know, it blew up from there. So I pretty much have been on this all day.
Quick question about where you're headed now. Are you allowed to go back to your neighborhood or your home, or is that cordoned off?
Well, they actually did just close Route 12 going westbound from, that would be like Eagle Point and Phaeton towards 134.
Yeah.
I know they're letting traffic go westbound as of right now, but I did notice that they have a lot of like PACE buses that are filled with law enforcement, that's how they're traveling from one area to another. I mean, the perimeter of where this is all happening is within, a mile or mile and a half radius.
So do you think you can get to your house, or?
I might be stuck now.
Yeah.
Now, but I have my kids with me, and there's more protection around me than I could imagine. So.
Right.
Well, good luck to you, Anna. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
The massive manhunt, of course, for these shooting suspects shut down Metro service in that area. Let's go to Sarah Jinder right now and find out, has it affected any other transportation in that area? Sarah, what do you see?
Well, mainly it's Metro. So to describe the Milwaukee District North line, the end of the line ends at Fox Lake, then it's Ingleside, and then Long Lake. So nothing is operating past Long Lake. So if you use Ingleside or the Fox Lake stations, you won't be able to get there. They are busing passengers from Long Lake between Fox Lake here because of all that activity. Well, it's all happening right there by the Ingleside stop. So there is no operation there on the west end, again, of the Milwaukee District North line trains here this evening. And probably continuing until this gets resolved here. But as far as the roadway closures go, Rollins is the big one that's shut down here. Rollins closed both directions between Washington and Satan again for all the activity. We did have an earlier closure on US 12. That is now open, so nothing closed there, but you've got a lot of police officers off to the shoulder and off to the side that you will see when you're traveling. And as they have said, if you don't have to be out, just don't, because they want everyone to stay inside while they're continuing this investigation, guys.
Yes, Sarah, before you go, this is a big area where people commute back and forth from the city of Chicago in that Fox Lake area. What can folks do who are coming home, trying to get home tonight?
Well, you can still use Metro. So Metro is still an option. You'll just have to get off at the Long Lake station, and then you'll be bused from there. And really, if you are traveling through here, you can use those alternates like US 12. It is open at this point. So you can definitely still use it. There are other ways to get around this little stretch. It's not a heavily traveled stretch.
Okay.
So it is doable.
Yeah. Okay. Sarah Jinder, Skycam 9. Thanks. Eric Rung on the ground in Fox Lake. Eric, let's go to you.
Good evening to the both of you. A very somber press update here from officials here in Fox Lake just about a half hour ago, telling us that right now their search is still on for 3 suspects in this case. Of course, we had been hearing a lot throughout the day that they had possibly had one of the men in custody that they are looking for, but officers here, detectives here, not confirming that, saying that they are still looking for 3 suspects in this case, 2 white men and 1 black man. We are also told that Officer Charles Glinowitz, Lieutenant Charles Glinowitz, came upon these 3 suspects earlier this morning, thought they were suspicious, called it in, gave a foot chase on these 3 suspects, and then he didn't answer his radio when they were calling him again. Officers then finding him later, and now we know that Lieutenant Charles Glinowitz did die from a gunshot wound. We spoke to not only the detective that is leading the case, but also the mayor of this town, who had nothing but great things to say about his lieutenant.
Asking residents in the Fox Lake area to please be on the alert if they see anything suspicious, to dial 911 immediately.
Tonight, not only did Fox Lake lose a family member, I lost a very dear friend.
Police were everywhere in and around Fox Lake today, as you were hearing Julian Cruz report that there's helicopters in the air. We also know that there are a lot of police officers on the ground. The detective in this case telling us that they are still primarily focused on that marshy area that Julian has been stationed pretty close to all day long. However, we do know that officers have been walking a number of the subdivisions here, a number of different neighborhoods, knocking on doors, telling people what's going on. There's also been a recording taken like a reverse 911 call that's been sent out to people to make sure to tell them to lock their doors, and if they see anything suspicious that they should be calling 911. We did speak with a number of people who live in some of these neighborhoods where are being guarded really by officers right now.
It's really terrifying. And then now just pulling out in the neighborhood and seeing all the SWAT teams and that's really scary.
Well, they wouldn't even let us into our neighborhood. They pretty much stopped me, and they asked me to call my wife and tell her to get out, and that's what we did.
Well, 3 guys
it was
on the
scary.
loose.
Yes, it's very scary.
Now, of course, the school situation is still an ongoing situation here, as the buses that take kids normally home from school are also on lockdown, so they are not running. So the school district is asking parents to go pick up their kids. We are told that in some cases parents will need to show ID to pick them up. They're also being dismissed at staggered starts at different schools, and police officers are also on the sites of each of those schools to make sure that the kids are safe. Again, this is obviously a developing story. A lot more to come on this. For now, we are live in Fox Lake. I'm Eric Rung, WGN News.
Eric, before you run, did they give you any indication as to when they will give you another update? Give us another update on the situation.
No, detectives, as you mentioned earlier, that they did not take any questions at this press conference, and they also did not let us know when they might be giving us another press update. Of course, this morning when they gave us an update, it was very short, only about a minute and a half, some very bare information that they gave us, and that was it. They also did not take questions there. We didn't know that this press conference was happening until about a half hour prior to the detective coming to the microphones. We, of course, are going to be out here, and as soon as we find out that there's going to be another update, we will for sure let you guys know so you can take it live.
Hey, Eric, before we really let you go, quick question. Do you find it peculiar that we were hearing for the good half hour or so, CNN reporting that the Illinois State Police had said they'd gotten somebody, and then at that news conference, in fact, there were even news releases from one of the police departments talking about searching for 2, not 3 this afternoon, and all of a sudden at this news conference, they just said 3, and that was it.
Yeah, I would say that is a little peculiar for the simple fact that we had been hearing that all day, that there was somebody under arrest, that there was one in custody. You would think that that would be some information that officers would release, but we pressed the detective on that several occasions, a number of reporters out here, because we are all, of course, hearing the same things from different people, and he said he will not confirm that, and they are still searching for 3 suspects in this case.
All right, well, we'll just go with that. Thank you, Eric Rung. Before Micah throws it to our next guest on the phone, we just got this picture from the Lake County Sheriff's Department. This is Joe Glenowitz, the lieutenant. We've seen some of the Facebook photos, but, you know, with the sunglasses on, sunglasses off, that type of thing, and kind of in a playful situation. This looks like maybe perhaps the official photo from the Fox Lake Police Department of the brave officer who chased down the 3 suspects by foot and was shot and killed today. Joe Glenowitz.